While the EU argues that its problems with Turkey are rooted in concerns over human rights and democracy, very few in the Muslim world actually believe this, primarily because these concerns do not appear to impact Europe's relations with the UAE, which has a notorious and brutal human rights track record and no democratic processes. It does not hinder Europe's relations with Egypt, where the military overthrew the democratic transition and re-established a military dictatorship. And it has not affected Europe's relationships with Saudi Arabia, as there are suggestions that they are ready to rush to Saudi Arabia once the negative PR lifts to support bin Salman's social and economic reforms, whereby he's promised to unpin the Islamic influences over Saudi society. In other words, in the Muslim world, EU antagonism towards Turkey is seen as more rooted in what Erdogan has come to represent as opposed to what he actually does. It is seen as more rooted in this fear of a revival of a Muslim power and the transformation of Turkey from a mere guardsman of Europe's southeastern border to a regional power to be reckoned with. And it's important to understand the implications of this on Erdogan's enduring popularity. The reality is that despite Erdogan leaning more on nationalist rhetoric in recent times, despite the fact he opened the border and let the refugees go to Europe, knowing full well they would be shot at by the Greeks, despite his policies in Libya that have become increasingly driven by narrow national interests as opposed to the spirit of wider Islamic brotherhood, the reality is that the discomfort amongst his sympathizers does not stop them from supporting him, primarily because of an appreciation of what Erdogan has come to represent, in that he has become seen as this bulwark against anti-Muslim and anti-Islam sentiment. He has made Turkey into a haven for Muslims in a region where Saudi Arabia, UAE and Egypt are turning against Islamic elements. And this is what Europe has failed to understand, in that in its antagonism to Turkey, and with France leading this antagonism, it is being seen as trying to preserve a system of subjugation as opposed to seeking the liberation of these people. France's hysteria is seen as not being rooted in a concern over the betterment of the Francophone countries, but rather an outrage that its influence is being threatened by an expanding Turkish power. And this is what Europe needs to understand, in that Erdogan does not thrive on crisis in the manner Europe accuses him of, but rather he thrives on these popular perceptions of European foreign policy and the dynamics that underpin it.